nobody predicted the Penguins to be what they are now, but and Sid for the last 2 or 3 years has been out of the playoffs. How do you mentally manage that when you're playing the game, knowing full well that you're supposed to win a championship and now you can't even get to the playoffs?
Yeah, it was hard for me the last few years of my career, and I think it's one of the, if you just look at when you get later in your career, you basically kind of done everything you can individually, statistically. So you're not really playing to prove anything. Of course, you want to go have a good year and you want to, help your team position itself for the playoffs, but you're really playing to get into the playoffs and to try to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, that's what drives, or at least what drove me every year when I entered the league every September was hopefully a chance to win a Stanley Cup. But ultimately, for Sidney, so I'm glad that Pittsburgh has been able to right the ship, and hopefully they can hang on to the rope a little bit and get themselves in the playoffs, because we all, as hockey fans in the league, need Sidney Crosby in the playoffs, for one. As a young player, we were lucky enough to make the playoffs our first year. We went on a tear the last 10 games of the season. I think we won 8-1-1 or 8. I don't know if we had ties back then, but we did. I can't remember. But I think we won 8 of our last 10 games to make the playoffs, only to get beat by the Flyers, who had an amazing run that year. It was, I think they went on a 35-game unbeaten streak.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Pat Quinn was the coach.
Yeah, Pat Quinn was the coach, and so we got a tremendous amount of experience that year that nobody expected us to make the playoffs. For these teams that are taking longer to build, if you can't make the playoffs, you have to know that you're incrementally getting better as a player and as a team. You have to draw the line in the sand and say anything less than our best every night is not going to be acceptable. I don't care if the score is we're getting beat 10-1. Am I doing the right thing every shift? Am I being a good teammate? Am I preparing myself to play the best I can? Because if you never draw that line, and I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to be establishing a culture that's conducive to winning, even if you're not. And everybody that comes in has to be held to that standard. And I think that gives someone like Celebrini and some of these young players that are playing on these teams. Anaheim's got a great young team. The coach seems to be doing a great. Utah, I love the coaching there. They're holding those players accountable. And so it really gets down to, the coach and the players establishing that kind of culture that, okay, we might not win, we might not make the playoffs, but every game we played, we're playing to win. And if we make mistakes, we can live with them, but we can't continue to make the same mistakes, and we cannot be not prepared to play the game. And if you can do that, then I think that gives hope at the end of the tunnel.
So you think that that's on the coach more than it's on teammates?
I think it's huge on the coach. I think a coach is absolutely critical for these teams that can't never lose faith or hope. If you lose hope, everything crumbles. If you lose faith, everything crumbles. So how do you keep that? Because and of course these teams know that they're not going to win a Stanley Cup. They probably know after sometimes 20, 30 games they're not going to make the playoffs. But what brings you to the rink every day? Because like I said, you got to be willing to draw a line in the stand, and anything less than our best on each and every night and each and every practice is not going to be good enough. And the coach has to hold those players accountable to that standard. And if they do that, they will get better because they'll be getting more experience there. They'll be making less mistakes if they're held accountable. And that's how you create the culture. So I think the coaching for those teams like Chicago, Anaheim, Utah, these young teams that are really starting to emerge, coaching is a massive part of it.
That was when that little thing you just talked about there. That reminds me so much of what Slats was in the early '80s. Just reminding you guys of where the final vision was and how you had to grow through it. But you guys you did it in warp speed as a group.
And look at in the modern day version of that was probably even accelerated from us was Vegas.
Right.
They got there the first year, then it took them a few years to get back and finally won it. I think it was in their 5th year they won. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and a lot of different ways to get there. But I'm telling you, without the belief and the hope that the vision that's been set out for you you believe in, and you're locking arms together and you're all marching towards it. Without that, you're just spinning your wheels. And that's why you see organizations in many different sports just spin their wheels year after year after year without making the playoffs, because they don't have a starting point. They don't know where ground zero is. They don't know where to begin and how to hold each other accountable. There's no system intact. There's no faith. It's and without it, it's like I said, you're just spinning your wheels year after year without any idea of how to get there.
Well, they made the playoffs, but you certainly sound like the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mark, when you're talking about that. I mean,
I don't know about that, but it's
like, isn't there an expectation a guy like Austin Matthews has to help lead this group?
No question, they all do. I mean, these are great players, but they're not going to be judged now whether they can score 50 goals or 100 points or win the Art Ross or win the Conn Smythe, or not the Conn Smythe, the Ted Lindsay Award now.
Right.
It's going to be, they're going to be judged now on whether they can galvanize a team, and that is ultimately, in the end, as a leader, you got to be able to convince everybody on the team that I can't win without you. We can't win without you. And so that's going to be the litmus test for these guys now that they're into their 8th, 9th, 10th years. They've got all the individual statistics, but ultimately in the end, you got to be able to find a way to win. And unfortunately for us players in this sport, we're at the mercy of a lot of people that we can't control. But one thing you can control,
for instance, like what?
Well, the ownership, the management, the players that you're surrounded with. I mean, there's a lot of things, external forces out there that as a player, you're not in control of, but you are in control if you're the leader of the players on your team. And you got to try to extract the best you can from the players that you've been dealt to work with. And sometimes that's going to be good enough, and sometimes it's not. And to that point, John, I played with a lot of players that were in my, what I would consider winners, but they never had the opportunity to win because they weren't surrounded with the right people. So we got to be very lucky. And I can tell you from myself firsthand account that I am very lucky who I was surrounded with in my career, from coaches and owners and managers and players and everybody else. You can't win alone. There's a good book out there that says nobody can win alone.
Hey, we plugged the hotel. We don't need to plug the book, too, you know?
That's right. This is not an infomercial.
Not to beat a dead horse about Toronto, but when you talk about changes, like, I mean, how when a guy leaves, like Marner leaves, what happens in the room when something like that occurs, and how and what would the expectation of a Matthews be in that scenario?
Hey, look at we lost Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah,
we lost, and before that, we lost Paul Coffey. He scored 48 goals. He was the best defenseman in the National Hockey League, and he got traded in 1987. So then we lost Wayne Gretzky in 1989, and we were still able to galvanize together because of the respect that we had for each other in the dressing room to go on and win our 5th Stanley Cup. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. To your point, we can't control that as players. What we can control is my readiness and galvanizing our team that's in front of me the best I can as a leader. That's all you can do. And are we getting better? Is everybody committed? Does everybody believe in what we're trying to do? Is everybody disciplined? Is everybody, can I trust each and every player to go out there and do the job that they've been given? That's what you can control as a player. Everything else you can't control.
You ever talk to players about it?
Not really, to be honest with you. It's not, I wouldn't say never, but it's not easy because unless you establish a really solid relationship, it takes longer you have to be around.
Yeah.
You can kind of window dress it a bit and give some ideas and all that kind of stuff. But if you really want to make an impact, you have to be around because winning is a way of life. It's you don't just decide that you're going to win one year. If you really want to be a winner, I mean, you got to decide you're going to be a winner, and you got to live the life of a winner. from every aspect, on and off the ice, your discipline, your commitment, everything. It's just, and there's no way around it. And then you got to be living 30 other lives to make sure that they're doing the same thing and convincing them that they have to do the same thing in order to win. I mean, you just look at the Blue Jays. I know they didn't win, but I said during the Yankee series, I said that team has a special spirit. I recognize that team. I recognize the spirit on that team, the way they talked about each other, the way they talked to the fans, the way they communicated to the fans, the way they embraced each other, the way they're happy for each other. There was a special spirit on that team, and that's where teams have to try to get to. They have to try to establish, and you never know where that really kind of deep spirituality is going to come from each team, but you have to be able to get there in order to win.